Essential city services that most people take for granted come out of the general fund, and that ranges around $29 million on an annual basis. You know, talk to us a little bit about what's happened to the general fund over the last few years and, you know, what we're doing to help accommodate the needs of the community.
Sure. First up, I guess the general fund was hit pretty hard by the recession. Back in 2009, income tax revenues, which are the general fund's main source of revenue, dropped about $2 million, a little over $2 million. So since then we've rebounded with the income tax revenues. However, we've got some new challenges where the state of Ohio has cut our local government funding, not just the city of Elyria, but all cities in Ohio. And our cut to local government is 1.3 annually, 1.3 million. In addition to that, they have repealed the estate tax. And on average, we've been getting about $820,000 per year for the general fund from the estate tax revenue. So those two combined are a little over $2 million, so that has kind of thrown us right back into recession-like numbers. We've rebounded on our income tax revenue. We're pretty close to being back to pre-recession numbers, but with these two cuts, we're kind of right back to where we were before when the recession hit. In addition, we've got one major grant that funds 23 firefighters, the SAFER grant. That's due to expire late in 2014, early 2015. And we have one smaller grant that pays for, I believe, 4 police officers that is due to expire next year as well. So there's some pretty hefty challenges for the general fund. We're doing what we can to cut expenditures to combat these cuts in revenues, but it's quite difficult to come back from a $2 million cut in revenues.
Sure. And you know, the city of Elyria is not like a lot of other municipalities in this era as well. One of the things, you know, we knew some of these cuts were coming in terms of the repeal of the estate tax and the local government funds. So Mr. Pileski and I have been working together over the last 18 months anticipating some of these things. And one of the first things we did was we did request what they call a voluntary performance audit from the state of Ohio. And of course, every year the city of Elyria has a financial audit. And we've always gotten stellar reports back on our financial audit in terms of our financial management practices. But this voluntary audit was really to look at our operations, and it gave the city of Elyria an opportunity to have itself compared to other communities. And we had some very good findings where the auditor said, you know, Elyria, you're doing a great job in some of these areas. And in some other areas, there were some recommendations. So we're going through that process of reviewing those recommendations and actually putting them, many of them, into action. We've been able to review a number of our contracts, for example, and we've looked at some other things in terms of new partnerships, revenue sharing, creating some revenue sources from some new partnerships, making some reductions responsibly in some areas, and all of that is added up to a little over $1 million in savings. So we have been able to offset some of that $2 million reduction, but certainly not all of it. And we continue to work towards that end. That being said, one of the other challenges that we have is that, you know, back in 1983, the city of Elyria passed a 0.5% temporary income tax. And that has been on the books since then. So it's really become part of the city's staple budget. And this November, this income tax will expire again. It's at the end of its 5-year cycle. And this is no tax increase. It's simply asking people to continue to support a 0.5% temporary tax that has been on the books for many, many years. And we want to talk about that a little bit because the 0.5% temporary income tax actually comprises about 20% of our overall general fund. And it certainly helps us maintain what we call our basic city services. So things that you really just expect a city to do in terms of police and fire support, picking up your leaves, paving your roads, fixing potholes, things that cities are expected to do. That's part of that 20%. And how critical do you think that is, Ted?
It's a very critical component of our revenue stream. It generates about $6 million per year. That's the equivalent of probably our top 4 or 5 employers in the city. It's been, like, as you said, part of the city's revenue stream since 1983. It's due to expire June 30 of 2014, and it will be on the ballot for renewal this November. It's a vital, vital part of our revenue stream and operations for the city and the general fund. Of course, the main departments in the general fund are police and fire, parks and rec, municipal court, a lot of small, building department, but police and fire are the 2 biggest, and it's very, very important to get this renewed.
In terms of 20% of our general fund budget, the city of Elyria's got, about 450 employees or so. It really represents about a quarter of our workforce.
Correct, yes.
So, I can't, it's hard to imagine the impact of this not passing, because it is such a critical part of our overall budget. And it doesn't affect people's retirement income as well.
That's correct. It's a tax on earned income, so it's an income tax. Retirement income is not subject to the tax. So it's those earnings that are earned in Elyria, people that work in Elyria, and are gainfully employed, and attaches to the earned income of those people.
So it doesn't impact retirement, Social Security, disability, unemployment, any of those things.
Correct. Yeah. Strictly an earned income tax.
Strictly an earned income tax. So again, the city of Elyria is looking to encourage our citizens to become as informed as possible about Issue 5. It is critical. If you'd like to learn more about city finances, you can look at our State of the City report. It is posted on our website at www.cityofelyria.org. And we also have the performance audit posted on there as well. So the message really is we're doing everything we can to operate the city as efficiently and effectively as we can. And we've been very proactive in terms of taking steps, to be proactive about city finances. So we very much hope citizens will become more educated about Issue 5, know that it supports core basic city services and those services that you've come to expect out of your city. There are no frills to this at all. These are core basic city services, and again, no tax increase. So
that's correct. Also, you can view the latest comprehensive annual financial report on the website. That would be for fiscal year 2012, and that is there for your viewing as well.
Very good. Well, thank you, Mr. Pileski.
Thank you, Mayor.
Appreciate your time. And next up, we will be talking to Chief Whiteley and Captain Chris Constantino on the winning war on crime here in the city of Elyria. So join us next.